Hello everybody, DLF here again. Another episode of DLFTv. I have an awesome guest here today. I'm actually in his office. This is Dr. Stanley Byrd, and he's also my brother. And he just recently received a doctorate, and I'm sorry, it's a doctorate in education.
Yes.
It's a very long title, which I've yet to memorize, but we'll get to that later. So I want to interview him and just get a little bit of insight on his mind, because not only is he a facilitator, he's also a very creative person, and just wanted to have everyone get a different viewpoint of different types of creativity. So thank you for having me in your office this morning.
Great, thanks for inviting me to do this. This is really great.
Yeah, so as we know, I usually take, I have 10 basic questions that I've taken from John Lipton, and I start the interview with those, and we just kind of see where things go from there. So the first question John usually asks his guest is, what's your favorite word?
Favorite word? God, I thought about that a little bit. My favorite word, I think, is opportunity. I think of it when I think about the ability to find something new and something that's sometimes challenging, which I think is really cool. You know, instead of looking at it as a deficit, to look at it as this is a new beginning, a new way of looking at things, an opportunity. And then I think of it as the ability to create spaces for people to continue growing and developing, you know, so I like it. I think of it that way when I think of the trainings and things that I do. So I think of it's an opportunity, you know, to invite people in to learn more about themselves, learn more about whatever the subject matter is. So I like that word opportunity because I think it's a very powerful word, and for me it just means it's an opening to something that you already may not have in your life.
Okay, good, yeah. And on the opposite end of that, what is your least favorite word?
That one's a little bit more challenging. I mean, there's so many words that sort of impact your ability to get on with your life, and so when I think of something that my least favorite word, it's going to sort of be connected to hopelessness kinds of things, hopelessness or regret. So
Things
I
that
can't
kind of put a negative spin on it.
Yeah, so I can't think of like one word, but I know that when I'm watching other people or I'm experiencing other people's lives, the one word that does fall in line is the sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
When I hear that word, you know, it's hope, it's less, you know, and the ness is the full. So people are full of not having the ability to experience life and the way they want, and so you know, so the opposite of opportunity is kind of hopelessness, I guess. I don't know,
Right.
but that's the word that sort of right now is surfacing for me, is that sense of hopelessness.
Yeah. One of the things that I try to do is maintain a positive attitude towards anything.
Right.
What I'm eating, what music I'm working on at the time of the day, because I just feel that you put the positive energy out there, then you will receive positive energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe that too.
But so many people go into things with a negative spin, and that kind of, I think that kind of helps the negative or the reaction that they get. I think that helps that along the way.
Right.
It doesn't really, and it also kind of gives them an excuse. It's like, well, see, I told you.
Yes.
But it's like you put that energy out there,
Right.
so what kind of energy do you expect to get back?
Yeah, and some of that sounds like even a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. You know, I mean, you reap what you sow. I mean, what you're putting out there, you're probably going to get back. And so if you're going to continue to put out negative energy, you know, that's what's going to happen. But I think people get so stuck, though. They get so stuck in their patterns and their ways of doing things. And then they're so afraid, you know, to even look at the possibility of another change.
Right.
And I also just think that people, you know, they just, once again, going back to this word hopelessness, I guess, they don't see a possible future. And so one of the things I like to do with people is I like to help them look at all sides of things, you know, because there's always something that's useful or positive, you know, if you allow yourself to open up to looking at it. So.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Now I'm gonna probably jump in a little more with this question. What turned you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
What turns me on creatively?
And it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I would say so. Creativity, what turns me on? There's something so wonderful about finding an idea and then finding something else that may not appear initially congruent with that idea, but you put them together and you create this whole new thing. And that's what I like doing. I mean, it's like I do that, like I said, I do it in my training, I do that in my writing and all that. It's like I have this one idea and I think, okay, no one's thought about it this way. Let me put this with it and see what happens with it. So I have to say that that's the beginning of it for me. It's just there's a great excitement. There's so much energy. It's like in that whole process of trying to create something different. That people haven't seen or heard or thought about before.
And what about spiritually? Oh, by the way, Stan is not only a doctor, but he's also a minister.
Tell me the question again.
The question was, what turned you off, or what turned you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Okay. So when I think of the spiritual part then, I think that I'm a very spiritual person, and so number one, I surrounded my house in a way that's very comfortable and spiritual, and I hope when people come to my home, they're very comfortable.
You can actually feel it.
Yeah, well thanks. When you walk in, and I hope that. Being turned on spiritually really is about helping people find that center, finding that connection to something, whatever that might be. It might be called creator, it might be God, it might, whatever it is that gives them energy and that they feel like they're part of a whole. So I really love helping people connect that way, and I don't have a dogma or ideology around the fact that you have to do it this way or do it that way. It's really about, okay, we're all part of this greater, universe, and how do we stay connected to it? And I have to tell you that if for those folks who use the word sin, a sin for me, and I use it very broadly, is that sense of disconnection to something greater. To me, that's the sin. The sin isn't always our behaviors. The sin is that disconnection from the fact that we are all part of this same living human organism that's called actually Earth, because Earth is a living, breathing entity. So yeah, I get great a charge out of connecting people to that center, that core of their goodness, because so many people are so challenged about not feeling good about themselves and not good about others, and and then all this other craziness in the world happens. So
I kind of like that, because we're not. It's not the actual sin; it's the disconnection.
The sense, and it's the sense of disconnection. Because see, the whole thing is you're always connected. That path is always there for you, but
whether you choose to take it or not.
Absolutely. Because of all the hopelessness, people then disconnect themselves from that source, and that source is already there, always there.
Right.
That's the whole thing. That's why I say it's a perception of disconnection, not actual disconnection, because we are on this planet living, breathing right now, so we're connected.
Wow. So then, if I flip this question again, like what turns you off creatively and spiritually, would it be that disconnect from?
No, I mean that's funny when you flip it. It's a different question to me.
Okay.
When I think of the creativity part, what I get caught up in is I don't feel like I sometimes have all the resources I need.
Oh, okay.
Like if I want to write about Spain, I haven't read enough about Spain, and I haven't visited Spain to really internalize it and enjoy it. So the thing that gets in my way, I'll put it that way, when it comes to creativity, is I sometimes don't think I have all the resources I need, to create whatever it is that I want to create. On the spiritual side of things, the thing that really gets to me, I mean, just is how people use God, the Creator, the Goddess's name in vain in this way. That it's okay for them to hate other people in the name of God. I don't understand that. I just don't get that. If you truly believe that there's a greater power, that's a loving, caring being, how can you then say it's okay for me to discriminate, kill, shoot, maim another person in the name of God?
Yeah.
And it's not just on the warfare that happen, war field that happens. Of course, it happens in people's everyday life.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when individuals will say, you know, because of your behavior, or because of your orientation or whatever, God thinks it's okay that I hurt you, that I dismiss you, etc.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand that part, and that's the part that really gets me when people are using spirituality and religion as a way to hurt other people. And then I wonder what happened to that judge lest you be judge. You know, and if the true judge is God, you know, once you leave this plane and go somewhere else, then why can't people just leave it there, as opposed to taking it upon themselves to be the people who decide that they're going to judge and sometimes be executioner to folks who are different from them. So yeah, as you can see, I have a lot of energy around that.
I'm a little passionate about it.
I get really concerned when people use the God force, the creator, you know, the goddess, as a negative. I don't understand. I just don't even understand it in my heart.
It's like, well, I'm doing it just because that's what's written in the Bible.
Right.
It's like, well, no, that's not what's written in the Bible. A lot of people always take what's in the Bible and kind of interpret it for what they
for their situation, for their group, whatever. So that's the spiritual side. The flip side of that, as I said, is a different response than what I said was the positives for those two questions.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your writing. Oh, that's right. I have another phone. I would say, and I'm gonna get the dates wrong, but probably back in the 80s, you started writing.
Yes. That's right.
And there was one novel that I was privy to reading that was way ahead of its time, and I've been trying to get Stan to get that back on his plate as far as writing creatively. It was a very spiritual, creative book. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
It was called. Oh boy, I can't remember my title now.
See, it's been so long. 80s.
Yeah. Well, actually, the book itself, the book you're talking about, was written in the 90s, but it was really about looking at the intersectionality of spirituality, spirituality and religion, and some of the ancient prophets, but doing it in a way that people were experiencing in everyday life. So it was a journey.
There's a little bit of reincarnation.
There was, etc. You know, so there was the central characters were, of course, having their own spiritual journeys, and so there's some sense of reincarnation in the story. There's a sense of also being able to speak to spirit guides and speaking, and also experiencing past lives and those kinds of things. So yeah, I think it was 20 years ahead of its time, because you see lots of those kinds of things now on television and in movies. And so the challenge, once again, when you're a creative person, then is how do you take the core of that idea then and create something new from it? You know, how do you help that become reborn when we're talking about the spirituality of it all? So I'm constantly trying to figure that out and finding, once again, going back to the resources that will help me not necessarily put that volume out again, but the essence of it was very wonderful and evolutionary for me personally as an individual. So what can I do then to do something similar to it, so that I get that same kind of rush as it relates to creating and birthing a novel?
Yeah. So, now, again, like, I don't think too many people know that you have that creative aspect of your psyche or of yourself. Where did that come from? Like, I remember you used to have a 8mm camera, and you used to take pictures of everything. And
now you're really telling my age.
Oh yeah, well, I still use that 8mm camera, but I remember, and I still have like cousins coming over, and we did like a little dance thing, and
okay, I do remember that.
Of course, there was no sound, so I'm not really sure what we're dancing to. We were having a great time, but And just you had that kind of I guess like a little filmmaker thing going on when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, I think but in the early days, it was really about escapism. It was about how do you create other worlds and understanding of the way the world is. So I did it through film, like I said, and I certainly read everything